ARIRANG, the new comeback album by BTS. It's been quite a while since we've heard from these boys. K-pop has progressed quite a bit into this huge amalgamation and mainstream thing, and honestly, I've been very curious about what they've been doing and what they would sound like on their comeback album. I've always enjoyed K-pop, especially BTS's music. I found it to be a very interesting version of oversaturated sounds that have already existed in the Western pop culture, but in a new format, in a K-pop format. Great examples that illustrate just this are singles like Butter, Dynamite, Boy with Love, Fake Love. All of these singles are very exuberant versions of pop sounds that we've heard all over throughout the entirety of the 2010s in Western media. Somehow managed to be refreshing and interesting, clean listens, even though sometimes their influences are a bit overly enunciated and pretty clear most of the time. I could never just dumb down the genre to just its influences, but I must admit, unfortunately, this album right here, BTS Arirang, is an exception, is an example of the complete opposite, and in fact, I have never heard K-pop be so rudimentary and honestly awkward. For instance, the opening track is quite a good demonstration of this. It starts off well enough with these interesting callbacks between the different members, but then it transitions into some nice dance beats that kind of sound like Sexy Back by Justin Timberlake, and I still like the track at this point. But then it kind of starts falling off, starts drifting off into complete nothingness. The track doesn't progress well at all. In fact, the production gets more awkward and clunky and I would say metallic sounding, and then Jimin just completely kills off the track with weak vocals and honestly an anti-catchy hook. What's fascinating is that somehow we plummet further down on the second track, Hooligan. This track is an abomination. It sounds like what an evil cartoony robot would come up with if it tried to create rap music. It sounds like if an alien tried to think what hard music would sound like. It's completely garbage. For some reason, they're commenting on the beat and how hard it is. These nunchuck sound effects are goofy as hell. Like if somebody like Yeet came up with a track like this for the Despicable Me soundtrack, I would understand it, but he would get absolutely clowned on by most people in the States. And then we have the members like laughing on the beat, saying ha 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 in the most monotone voice. It's so cringy and corny. They're trying to be menacing, but it doesn't work at all. And then fucking Jimin is like completely heavenly singing about how rude the beat is, or it's awful. Like I don't understand what the group was thinking with this one. I genuinely question if this was like a parody or a social experiment of some sorts. From this point on, the album continues to try menacing and edgy and completely failing at it. It continues to try and be hard with like a very weird interpretation of what that actually means. This song has a weird chorus. The flows are grating as hell. The production still is not on par for BTS. And while I'm shitting on this record, I might as well mention the track 2.0. Again, awful. It's similar to Body to Body in the sense that it never gets going, but it's also similar to the worst track on here, Hooligan, in the sense that it's still cringy, it's corny. It has this like laggy chorus, which again tries to sound hard, but comes across as completely not self-aware of how embarrassing it is. Now, on this first half of the album, we do still get the track Fire, which I do like. It is a blazing club anthem. I like the different genres which are melding together on this track quite nicely. The Flume production bits are also nice. The writing is still not the best, but I'm willing to forgive it for how good and how killer everything else on the track is. And while I'm here, I might as well mention the track Swim, which is technically on the first half, but feels more aesthetically as part of the second half. Nonetheless, it transitions us, and I do not like the track. It's very similar to some old BTS tracks, in the sense that it's like kind of a quiet ballad, it's a timid moment, but it's so underwhelming in comparison to some of those. The chorus is not hard hitting at all, it's not melancholic at all, it's just monotone and bland. The writing is terrible, just like it was in the previous parts of this album. it's just not a good track. It doesn't do what it's supposed to do for a BTS ballad. So then we have the second half of the album, which is significantly better than the first, not as corny as the first. However, does it pull up the track list too much for me? Does it save me from the shit that I just heard in the first half? Not quite. There are still many problems here. First, we get the Tame Impala produced track, Merry Go Round, which is a synthy, sunsetty, summer type of track. It's kind of bland. It's a fill the space background type of track. The band doesn't do too much to make this sound any more interesting than it is, and it is quite an established sound. And that brings me to my main point. A lot of these sounds that are on this half of the album are very familiar, specific sounds in Western media that the band has never really dipped their toes in before, but they are quite bland sounds. They're not the most interesting directions for this album to go in, and the band doesn't really do too much to add anything new to them or make them any more enthusiastic and ambitious than they already are. However, I would say I do have fun hearing them all come together on this side of the album, and they are much more palatable and easy to listen to than the first half of the album. They are a bit of a palate cleanser. First, I'll go over some of the weaker moments here, like the track One More Night, which has a super bland dance pop beat, perfect for H&M. Then we have the track Like Animals, which has a screamed overpowering wailing chorus that makes up the majority of the track, and then a plucky guitar in between. It's very obviously just a middle-brow mimic of 2010's rock radio fodder, aka, you know, it's 21 Pilots. It's straight up just a 21 Pilot song. There are so many bars and sentences here that are completely and entirely enunciated, the same as Tyler from 21 Pilots would enunciate them. And then we have the closing track, which features a sung vocal verse, which has this extremely weird distortion and processing over the vocals, which never sounds too terrible, but it does also sound like there are so many points here where the track is on the brink of breaking out into like these horrific screeches and terrible sounds, but it never quite reaches that point. It's just kind of like a ticking time bomb. But now for the highlights, we have the track Normal, which is a bit of a shock because every single member here does their absolute best on this track. The performances are amazing. The writing is spectacular, so much better than anything else we've heard so far on this entire album. It's very focused. It's kind of like a meditation and a metaphor or a connection between love life and fame. It's a bit dramatic, but I mean, the charisma is back. The charisma that BTS usually brings on their track. The hook is great too. It's just an amazing track and such a nice refresh in the listing here. Clearly care what they're writing and singing about on this track. Then we have the track They Don't Know About Us, which opens with this amazing vintage vocal sample that sounds like it was pulled from a song straight from the 50s, like a Paul Anka song. It's very smooth, sticky, and slick, just what I want from BTS. Each of the members bring convincing performances that do a great job at curating the vibe here. I love the hook. Yeah, oh, damn right. Oh, damn right. And then we have the track Please, which features a great chorus. It's very fun and exuberant, some straight boy band lovesick energy on the track. I do want to mention that a lot of these songs have amazing openings. It really excites you and gives you hope for the rest of the track, although some of them don't quite stick the landing, unfortunately, but still, they have great intros. To sum up, yeah, I did not enjoy this album. The first half left such a terrible taste in my mouth, and in the second half, while it is better, it does sort of bring out my main point with this album, which is that a lot of these songs and the entire album itself feels like the band was handed specific sounds to sing over, and sometimes their fit for these sounds was the problem, like Hooligan, like most of the first half, but sometimes the actual sounds themselves were not that interesting. I'm feeling about a strong 3 to a light 4 on this album, and yeah, that's about it.